Danny Cadet, class of 2017, at the dedication and relaunch of Perry Garden, once said, Perry Garden provides an excellent opportunity for our community to develop a healthy relationship with our past, one filled with contemplation and healing. We can comfortably move forward without feeling like we have abandoned all that Perry House was, spatially and symbolically. In just 4 years, Bryn Mawr College has proven this statement to be false over and over again. Where there was once a house is now a derelict lot, slowly being reclaimed by nature. There is little to no acknowledgement of it and its history on college websites. Most information is student gathered. No floor plans exist. It's swept over, an ugly bit of history the college would rather erase. The erasure of the Perry House is gross, yet it is allowed. We cannot forget history, or the tireless work generations before us have put in. To understand it, and to challenge this erasure, we need to look back. Perry House was bought by the college in 1963 from Henry and Susan Perry, along with Arncliffe. For 9 years, it was used as the Spanish language residence. After much protest and activism by Sisterhood, a group of African American and Black students on campus, Perry House was designated to become the Black Cultural Center, complete with living spaces, art, a Black library, and communal opportunity in 1972. Almost immediately, the Perry House was deluged with problems, including a lack of security and funding by the college. The next 20 years are not well documented, but in 1998 an article is published in the college news by Kwanzaa Price entitled Perry House, Endangered Residence. The article itself is lost, but it goes into depth about the structural demise of the house and implores the college for more funding in the renovation of the house. Only 14 years later, Perry House is taken offline in 2012 due to health and structural concerns, a result of the college's longtime hesitance to maintain the house. Almost immediately, committees of students formed as a Perry House committee in the hopes of renovating or building a new dorm to serve the same purpose and the same ideals of the Perry House. In 2013, the college administration and the Perry House committee agreed to build a new Perry House into the renovations of Hafner Hall, which would eventually open into the Enid Cook Class of 31 Center. The new space houses 29, 22 more than Perry House, and includes the same communal spaces, kitchens, art, and library exhibits. It is home to members of Sisterhood, Bakaso, Mujeres, and Zami Plus, or anyone who aligns with the ideals of the ECC, just as Perry House was open to these same groups. Perry House itself was demolished in 2016, and in 2017, Perry Garden was dedicated to the memory of the students who once called the house home. The garden itself is made up of plants and flowers native to or similar to species in Africa and the Caribbean region, and maintains the original stone outline of the house, quote, so as not to erase but to continue to acknowledge the history of Perry and of the college, end quote. The lot itself is shrouded by a green wall and landscaping. Most of what the building itself sat on is now broken white rock, overgrown stone walls, and the remains of an asphalt parking lot. It is abandoned. During the Black at Bryn Mawr tour, which is a wonderful resource for learning about the history of Black students, staff, and faculty, they only show us this outer wall. The ugly, overgrown part is not for seeing. It looks forgotten, covered up. The only parts that are still taken care of are the garden itself, and a small patch of grass where a side yard used to be, still freshly mowed. 20 feet away, trash hangs from the trees, invisible from the garden. In doing research for this project, I initially started out trying to find floor plans to compare Perry with Batten, a residential hall of a similar era still online. However, for all my searching, I could find no such plans. I tried the college website, Tripod, the college photo archives, Google, the Black at Bryn Mawr and Perry House blogs, Facebook, you name it. I probably gave it a shot. In the end, I emailed the college archivist, hoping that perhaps the plans were just not available for student access. I sent my email on May 8th and received an email the 17th, to no success. She informed me that no floor plans existed and, quote, because Perry House, formerly Spanish House, was a nearby property that sold to the college in the 60s, not a property built by the college itself, I don't think the school ever had a copy of the building plans, end quote. However, she did include a long, about 100-page collection of documents concerning Perry House and the residents who lived there, as well as their fight to even establish it as the Black Cultural Center. This is a source I've been looking for a long time, and it was not publicly available as far as I know. Information about the Perry House itself is very hard to come by today. Most of the information I've gathered comes from articles archived on the college website, or from the Blackett Bryn Mawr website. Photos I looked for, in the hopes of finding a way to make my own floor plan, are of small, cramped areas. There doesn't seem to be a walk through the building. For even the hope of finding a floor plan, or even the shape of the building, I turned to Google Earth and its feature to scroll back in time. I knew from a history of land acquisition document the college put out in 1977 that Perry House had about 4,800 square feet of space. Using Google Earth, I scrolled back to 2016, the year with the most available overview of the house, and drew a polygon around the borders of the house I could see. I ended up with about 4,000 square feet of space. Clearly, I'm missing some sort of space, but a lot of the outline of the house is covered in trees or just blurry. For a comparison, I went to the 2020 image and drew a polygon around the portion of the white stone that the house had once sat on. I ended up with 4,930 square feet of space. I also traced a polygon around all the garden features of the 2020 image, with the square footage adding up to 4,200. If we add in the side yard, it becomes 6,830 square feet, exceeding the original square footage of the house and the square footage of the white stone. Because all of this area is maintained, this means that, technically, the same amount of space is maintained in the garden as it should have been in the house. Though I personally don't think this is on purpose or symbolic. If it were, it would be too easy for the college to use it for brownie points. It is nice that, even if coincidentally, the college is finally taking care of the space. However, the original lot is still overgrown and shielded from public view. Literally and physically, erasure is occurring. Technically, if I'm going by my original idea for the project, it is a failure. I can't make a floor plan with just building shape and a few dark photos, or if I could, it would take ages. But the whole experience itself has made me realize how valuable maps are as tools for archaeology and anthropology, and how easy it is to erase structures that were once mainstays. For Perry House, the stone edges and walls are there, but there's no outline of the rooms. So, I did what any good archaeologist would do, as far as I know, and made do with what I had. I used the tools I've learned, poured through sources, visited and mapped out the space itself, just to gain a bit more knowledge than what I knew. The erasure of the space, both physically and informationally, is widespread and conspicuous, and due to past actions will continue to be an issue. Without more resources, I don't think we'll ever be able to make a comprehensive floor plan for what Perry House was. However, current research is being done into the history of the Perry House by interviewing those who once lived there. The Preserving the Histories of Perry House Oral History Project, or the Perry Project, will be published sometime in 2021 in order to document and publish the stories of the house and the people who lived there. So what now? Can the erasure and abandonment of the Perry House be undone? I'll be honest and say that I don't know, and it's not my place to speak. I can only raise awareness and educate myself and others. It is critical to realize how easily places can be erased, especially if they're places where minorities and especially POC had communities. Perry House is a case study of how quickly this erasure can happen. Maps are important tools to use